For those who don't know, I'm Lou Rose, and I'm the president of your board of directors. And it's been, since I was elected in November, it's been such a pleasure to work with the entire board of directors and our staff at Home Starts, and really getting to know all our neighbors and our friends in Ashworth Square. So I want to thank Belly once again for this beautiful banner that she actually got printed. And a lot of people were asking us, what does reconnect, redefine, re-energize, and reimagine means? And those are the goals of our conference today. And by the end of it, I'm hoping we're going to be able to achieve all of these things together. And so what do we mean by this? So reconnect, and I think Nezzy already alluded to this, is that we really want to bring neighbors together. I think the only time that we're able to do that is when we have a general members meeting, and it's very hard to actually sit down and talk to your neighbors. And the fact that we have about 60 members joining us here today, I think is remarkable that we're willing to do that. So really reconnecting with your neighbors and getting to know each other is one of our goals. The other goal is to really give members an understanding and increased knowledge of the challenges and opportunities that we have at Ashworth Square. And again, you're going to hear that presentation from our building assessment about what capital repairs need to be done over the next couple of years. Reimagine. We want to really, the board of directors, yes, was elected to work with you to try to think about the future. And we want to work with you to shape that future at the end of the day. So this is your chance to tell the board and the staff what you would like to see at Ashworth Square. And then, of course, all this can't happen until we actually raise the money and start spending the money in the right places. So really, we want to get your input on our operating and capital budget. And so we're going to do a workshop in the afternoon where you can, again, tell us what the priorities need to be. And then finally, the last goal that we have for today is re-energize. We've been around for about maybe over 42, 43 years. And I know a lot of our members are getting older, but we also have a lot of new young members coming up. And how do we re-energize the co-op and getting people to participate again, to come out to committees, to come out to events like this, and really go to the core of what it means to be a co-op and to be Ashworth Square. So if we're able to, I know those are big, ambitious goals for our entire day, but I think if we work together, I think we could achieve that. And at the end of the day, the goal here is to make Ashworth Square an even better place to live for all of our families. So once again, thank you very much for taking the time today to do this with the board and the staff. And we're going to go right into our first exercise, and it's called a SWOT analysis. And when I first became the chair of the board, this is one of the first exercises we did as a board of directors, and I want to do that here today with you as members. So in the middle of your table, there's a sheet, and it has 4 corners for SWOT. And so for the S stands for strengths. And so for the next 5 minutes, we want you to brainstorm and tell us, what makes Ashworth Square so great to live in, all right? What are some of the good things that are happening? Then you're going to go to the next box, W, for weakness. So this is where we need to improve. So this is your chance to tell us, I think we need to be focusing on the following areas. Opportunities. Opportunities is a chance to tell us, where these improvements could be made and where these connections could be made. All right, where's the opportunities to actually improve the co-ops? And then threats is basically, it's pretty self-explanatory. What's coming up? What do we need to keep in mind as we're building the co-op? And I think a big part of that will be things such as funding and operations and the building of the age of the building as well. So if we could spend about the next 15 minutes, there's a board member in every single table and a staff member who are going to help facilitate and perhaps write out what the different points are. And then at the end of this, we're going to go around to each table and see what everybody has come up with. All right, so for this table 1, we have Knut and Olu. We have nobody there. We may combine a table or two, and so we may make, I'm going to be there too. And then over here we have Nezzy, and who else? Oh, and Kano, yeah. And then we have Barbara and Valentina at that table, and we have Diane and Heidi at the table back here, and Belly, great, and Wajia and Judy, who is going to be at the back table. And but we may move around some people. But let's get that first exercise started, and thank you very much. So you want to go here. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to have each table come up, and you're going to present your top sort of note or point from every single box. So we're going to go with the first table here, and Aurora is going to come up. So let's welcome her. Now come here. Come to the top. Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. Okay, for the skill, we would say it's the location. We have one of the best locations within the area. Close to Square One, close to Go Transit, close to the bus stop. So it's so accessible for everything within this area. For weakness, it's the age of the building. We know how old the building is right now, and we need a lot of improvements, but still we thrive, and it remains strong for us. Opportunities. We suggest review and update of the bylaws. Being a member of the Finance Committee, we can see that there are a lot of things that we have to go back to. Everything needs updating, and everyone has to participate. For threats, it's the health and safety. Health and safety for us covers the security, because drugs could perpetrate within the area, alcohol, and the lighting also within the area. And lately, we had a bed bug problem, so we know that pests can also perpetrate in our building. So this is for us.
Woo.
Thank you.
Oh, Aurora. I'm going to keep that.
Okay.
Right into the microphone.
Oh my God.
There we go.
Okay, for our strengths, our table says no mortgage, more money. For the opportunity, it says put flyers to find who has what skills and certified for work in our co-op. And for our weaknesses, we don't use skilled members. And for our threats, loss of trust in the memberships.
Great. Yeah. Great job.
Good morning, everyone. Okay, for our strength, we talked about the location as well. For weaknesses, we talked about the lack of unity and communication between the members and the board and staff. For opportunities, we talk about networking. For threats, we talked about the crime and the drugs around the area.
Thank you. All right, Leslie. Oh, over here.
Thank you. Okay.
Up to that.
Oh,
That's okay.
okay, hello. Okay, for strength, we have this sense of family in our neighborhood, so there's security and safety. And for opportunities, just like what one table said, we have to tap into our skills. We have to contribute something to our community, to Ashworth. And for the weaknesses, number one is just too much subsidy. It's just killing us. And for thanks, for the threat, of course, is money. We don't have it. Thank you.
All right. I think Leslie, your table's up.
Jog, Leslie, jog.
Good morning, everyone. Okay, so for our table, strength is our history of the co-op. Our weakness, we feel, is division in the co-op, lack of members being united, cliques, things like that nature. The opportunity, we feel we have an opportunity to respect each other and start uniting as a co-op and stop assuming things. Our threat is our finance, and our finance is well now, but we need to replenish our finance, and that is a threat.
Thank you. All right, that was fantastic. I think we all deserve a round of applause for going through that exercise. We are going to compile all this, and at the end of this conference, we're going to produce a report that will go out to everybody here and to all the members of the co-op so they could actually see what was said today. We're also videotaping today's session, so if you wanted to look back afterwards at what was said, if there's a presentation you missed, and also the people who weren't able to join us, they would be able to review the presentations as well. We're going to go into the next part of our conference. And the board of directors is really excited to present to you our first ever annual Ashworth Square member satisfaction survey. And so I'm really excited to share the results with you here today. And so Nezzy is going to help me present the findings. So we thought it was remarkable that 50 out of the 153 units we had responded to the survey. So that's about a third of the co-op responded to this survey. So that's actually even better than most surveys that are sent out there. Out of the 50 units, 60% of the people have been living in the co-op for over 10 years. And then as you can see, there is sort of a diversity of people who just moved in and who's been here for 5 to 10 years and 3 to 5 years as well. So we have a good range of the number of new members and established members that we have there. The other big figure that we found, which is great, is that 85% of people would refer their family and friends to live at Ashworth Square Co-op. But we'd really like to see that number 100% one day, right? Okay, next slide. All right, in the terms of the condition of the co-op, overall, the majority of the members are satisfied with the condition of the co-op. So that was 34%. And so these are some of the areas that they highlighted in terms of what needed to be improved. But 46% was satisfied with the garbage and compacting area, and then the more than half were dissatisfied with it or neutral. And so we're already starting to tackle this issue. And so what your main concerns was that the area around the garbage and the recycling area was really untidy. A lot of the times the compactor wasn't working, and the recycling bins are always full. I think it's great that we all recycle, but I think we need to come up with a better solution. So some of the solutions that we're looking at is we're researching new compactors and recycle bins to be able to take on more of the garbage and recycling so it doesn't overflow until the next garbage day. So laundry room, so this is only for the people who live in the building that this really applied to, but 38% was satisfied with the laundry room, and then 26 and 20 were either not satisfied or dissatisfied with it, so we have a lot of areas that we could improve on. And the main concern was that it wasn't working properly and that we need to reinforce sort of the laundry etiquette. And I think of the big complaints that we get at the office and the board is that people leave their laundry in there for too long. And so what we've been trying to do is we're looking at frequent maintenance of the laundry areas, and then we've been putting reminders in our board updates on the etiquette for the laundry room facilities. Okay. So the next part was the common areas. And so 40% think our common areas are just okay. 38 were dissatisfied with it or neutral. And so the main concerns was that there was untidy common areas, the lobby maintenance needed to be further improved, and there was a lack of accountability for common area duties. And so common areas encompasses things such as the lobby in front of the building, the hallways in the townhouses, the office, the party room, the games room. And so we have a plan to address these concerns. One of the big things that we're going to be proposing in the 2016 capital budget is to renovate our party room and games room, which would be huge. And then we're also going to be conducting the painting of common areas, both in the building and in the townhouses. So we're going to launch a request or proposal for that next month. Actually, we just approved it at the board just the other night to go out to try to find the best painting company out there to do this for us. And then we want to really reinforce the regular cleaning schedule for the common areas. So we're working with the staff to be able to do that. Okay, other areas of concern was the parking lot and garage. So about half were satisfied and the other half were dissatisfied or neutral. And one of the big concerns that came out of the survey was that really about the safety of children playing near the parking areas. And one of the suggestions was to actually put up a sign while you're going up to the ramps to warn drivers to look out for children playing. So that's one of the early wins I think we could implement really quickly. Which is also great was playgrounds. I think a majority of people are satisfied with that area. And there wasn't any major comments on it, but I think we can, maybe we could actually survey the kids and ask them what they think about the playground area and how we can actually improve it. So this is the playground structure in the middle of the square and also what we call the big kids area, I think could be really improved in the future. The exterior, so this is both the exterior of the building, the exterior of the townhouse complex. The biggest concern, half were satisfied with it, and then the other half were dissatisfied or neutral. But the biggest concerns that we heard from members was for those who own fences, a lot of them are starting to fall over, or parts of it. And also, I think overwhelmingly, we were dissatisfied with this year's maintenance of during the winter season. So I could tell you that we're probably not going to hire that company for next year. And so our action plan is to, again, putting in this year's budget money to improve the fencing, painting the outside, especially the curbs in front of the building as well. We wanted to improve the curb appeal while you're coming into our community. And we're going to hire a new company to do the winter maintenance for 2016. Elevators was the next area, and I think we spent a lot of money just renovating the elevators in the building, but the biggest complaint coming out of there was that the maintenance and the frequency of it being out of service. And I think we just signed at the board and at the co-op a new preventative measures with a company to really maintain our elevators in good working condition. Okay. So going from the exterior common areas, we're focusing now on the members' units themselves. So these are within your own units. Overall, the majority of members were satisfied with the condition of their units. And just breaking it down, heating systems, 56%. Were satisfied, 28% was dissatisfied, and 16% were neutral. And their concern was the lack of heating and not being able to control the heat within their own individual units or individual rooms. And so the co-op will be conducting an energy audit. I don't think we've had an energy audit done at the co-op to see and recommend how we could actually improve areas such as heating and maybe even cooling. I would really like to have central cooling, but yeah, we need more money though. But that is an area of big concern for the board of directors is that increasing energy costs, especially electricity costs. So you will see in the budget that it's probably the highest percentage in terms of it going up. And then I think with really cold winter seasons and also really hot summers, this is where a lot of the money is going towards. Okay, the next big area of complaint was the flooring. And as you can see, a good amount of you were dissatisfied with the flooring, and the biggest complaint was it's out-of-date flooring and carpeting. And as we announced at the last board general members meeting, we do have a plan at the board of directors to have a 3-year replacement plan to replace, I think, 60 of the most badly needed units to be repaired and receive new flooring. So we are going to launch a program to improve that. And then the other big priority area, which I'm glad the members approved at the last meeting as well, was appliances. We approved $20,000 at the last meeting to look at new fridges, stoves for kitchens, and we're looking at stainless steel and ovens that are self-cleaning, so it's going to be really an upgrade to what we have today. So the big concern is that the current ones are out of date. And again, we have a 3-year plan starting now, so the budget year 2015, to start replacing about 20 units every single year. The next part was pest control. And so I think our big concerns is management of pests such as mice and ants in particular. And we've been really satisfied with our new provider that did the bed bug inspections, Magical Pest Control. And we're looking at signing a new contract with them to provide this pest management to the co-op, both for the townhouses and for the high-rise. Okay, the other major concern was the drafts from doors and windows in people's units. And we're going to be looking at our energy audit and looking at proposals to improve the drafts from these cracks from these windows and doors. And then finally, the next concern was noise from surrounding units. And I think the biggest concerns is that I think it, particularly in the townhouse complexes, is the noises from the upper unit washrooms. And I could attest to this. I've been over at some people's places and you can hear somebody going to the bathroom upstairs. So I think part of our plan, and it's actually just a very large item in our budget this year, is to start a plan to update our washrooms. So there's a lot of money targeted to improving this area. Okay, in terms of overall maintenance, 42% is satisfied with the maintenance, while 28% is very dissatisfied. And the main concerns for maintenance is the response time and the quality of work. And so the board has heard this, and we are working to try to improve this moving forward. And one of the things that we're looking at is purchasing a proposed new tracking system to track in real time the work orders. So if you actually, and we're hoping we can use this using our website as well, is that you'll be able to fill out a form and that the office would receive it and the staff would receive it, and it would be time-stamped of when it actually happened and when it was completed. So apparently there's a lot of new technology out there today that we could purchase to start tracking things such as this. And so we're looking at doing that for the coming year. And then also the big thing that we've been instituting at the co-op now is this request for proposals. Yes, it takes a lot more time to get things approved and to do background checks and references for companies that are going to do work, but the co-op and the board wanted to make sure that we wanted to hire the best company when we're doing capital works. So the first big thing that we're going to look at doing is major capital repairs, is the painting, and the next big thing is also we're doing kitchen cabinets and also flooring. So we're going to go out there and try to find the best company to do this, and to do, if we're going to hire one company, they would be responsible for all the units that need replacement within the co-op. So it's a very coordinated approach and strategy. Okay, communications. Overall, 58% were satisfied with the communications in the co-op. And the big things that we've been hearing is the housing inquiry requests, providing information about meetings, clarity of financial information, and courtesy when communicating areas of concerns. And so this is something, again, that the board and staff have been working on. As you know, we've launched this board update, and it's sort of like a summary of what happened that past month and also what was decided at the board meeting. So we've been really trying to communicate more to members what's taking place at the co-op. The next big area of concern was safety and security. And the great thing is overall 70% is satisfied with the communication in the co-op. And so how can we improve safety and security? We just recently installed new cameras, and we're looking at purchasing even additional equipment to support that system as well. One of the things that we did discuss, I actually brought here a number of years ago, was to do an official neighborhood watch program. So that's something that we would love to introduce in coordination with Safe City Mississauga. We're looking at a new buzzer system for the building as well. I think that would also improve security of who's coming in and out from the building. And I think one of the things we want to remind members is not to let people in that you don't know. Safety and training, and also reminders to members. And the other big thing that we're hearing is enhanced lighting around the co-op as well. Participation, all right. Overall, the majority of expressed lack of participation as being an issue. And so one of the other issues around that is that there's a lot of talk about the lack of respect and the code of conduct, time constraints, health, illness, and aging. So I think that question was asking people, why don't you participate? So those are the barriers to participating at the co-op. Members do see an opportunity to create new opportunities to participate, and I think that table, Heidi's table, is mentioning how can we utilize people's experience and talents and put them to work in the co-op. And I think a lot of our participation and volunteer opportunities are within committees, and people are asking, can we be a lot more flexible in terms of providing other opportunities for members to get involved? Another big issue that we heard, or another big opportunity, was engaging our young people, our young members in the co-op as well. And I think Leslie and I are a good example. Like, we grew up at Ashworth Square, and I admit we only started getting involved recently, but there's a lot more of us who actually live at the co-op, and I think we have a lot to be able to give back. And so how can we engage more young members to be involved in the co-op? General comments, so things that we weren't able to capture in our survey that came up was board accountability, new member orientation. I think a lot of new members and new families are starting to come into the co-op, but we haven't done a good job at really welcoming them and trying to introduce them to the co-op, so I think we should return to doing that. There's a big issue around subsidy, and we'll have a further discussion with that in the afternoon. Finance, staffing levels, respect, maintenance, and bringing the fun back into participation is another big thing. I think we all could agree with that, right? Okay. So, and the last question is, where do you think our priorities should be as a co-op? Again, the top issue was maintenance, security, laundry, communication, mainly timely communication that needs to get out there. Day-to-day operations, so paying housing charges on time, and day-to-day maintenance of the property, re-energizing participation, upgrading our units, fair treatment, and pest control. Is that the last slide? Great, so that was the results of our first Ashworth Square member satisfaction survey. The great thing about this is that this is sort of going to be our report card every single year to members. So we'll be able to track, are we actually making improvements to what members are telling us? So this is sort of like the baseline and the benchmark, which we'll be working on every single year. So next year, you'll get the exact same survey. And I think the goal for everybody is for that to actually go up and areas to be improved on. All right. What's that? Oh, right. So now here's the opportunity for you. Do you have any questions regarding what was on the survey?
Of course.
Yes. Stand up. Yes.
I don't think it was. Yeah. Hi, I'm Kathy Spina from 6A, in case you don't know who I am. I just have one thing that we're going through on this, and you were talking on how we haven't really done anything this year in the co-op as far as repairs go. My biggest concern on repairs that I think that the board should go back and do ASAP is our drains. Okay, we've got boards over our drains.
Yeah.
If a child slips and falls, they can break their leg. I know there's one down in 2A's, theirs, and there's also one in the parking.
Yeah.
And there's actually stuff over. That to me is a direct emergency, and I think that we should take from the budget right now and repair that for the safety of the members.
Okay.
Any other questions? Yeah.
It's true. Yes. Oh, okay. My gosh, that is not.
Okay, so my question is, security for the building, I get that, cameras and things like that, but how about cameras for the townhouse units? I live in a back unit, it's kind of desolate and dark and kind of spooky at times. Yeah. And sometimes there's activity going on down there, people sitting in the ramps, and things of that nature. So any thoughts of a camera just secure the townhouse commons.
It's a great idea, actually. And so if we can make a note of that. So staff's taking notes and minutes, and also it's being videotaped. So we will definitely capture that. Yeah, we'll go over here.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Deborah Morris. I live in Unit 4B. I have a concern for those of us who work ungodly hours. I work at 3 o'clock in the morning, and it's very dark in the co-op. Sometimes people are or young men are lurking in the area, and I'm not really comfortable with all the lighting that's there. There are too many dark areas. I think we need to put some more out in the square so that people who live in the dark hours are safe and not feeling threatened.
My name is Marisa from 605. You talk about renovation. Now, just in my case, my kitchen is supposed to be renovated 3 years before Piara left. Now, I would like to know, when is my kitchen going to be replaced before it falls down and destroy the whole co-op?
Yeah, great question. And so I admit the last few years we've stopped doing kitchen renovations. And I forget the gentleman's name that used to actually build the fire. You're right, Larry. He used to build it in the carpenter's room, and so he got sick. So we stopped making custom-made kitchen cabinets. And so I've been on the board for the last 3 years. And every time we tried to pick a cabinet or a kitchen company, it looked like IKEA furniture, and we didn't want to buy it from those companies. So we were like, okay, we're not going to do that. So our new strategy is to do a request for proposals to companies and try to find the best one. So instead of us trying to find them, they're going to come to us. And there is more money in the budget to do kitchen renovations, and we do have a list now in terms of the top sort of 60 units that need replacing for their kitchen cabinets. So we have a 3-year strategy. So the most urgently repaired ones or that need replacing will happen this coming year, and then the next 2 years we'll eventually get to all of them. Any more on this table? Okay, yeah.
Hello everybody, Siobhan 6D. I just have a question about housing charges. I just would like to know, as a board, like for instance, let's say housing charges June the 1st. Some of us may not be able to call in the office to say, and why is that $25 being implemented right away? Why can't we give members at least the Monday over the weekend to pay, and after that, then we probably can take that.
Great question. So we do, so on our bylaws for the longest time, we actually had the $25 fee for paying your charges, your housing charges late. We do have been working with the staff to implement a process where you actually can come in and sign saying that you're going to be particularly late for a month. And so you could do that. And so I think the key thing is that we need the money on time to be able to operate. But I understand that, especially if there's like a long weekend or something, there should be a grace period if it falls on the weekend. And so we're looking at that. But the thing is we have to stick to the bylaws, and the bylaws right now don't allow us to do that. So I think we may have to tweak that to be able to give that allowance. So yeah, we're gonna get two more questions, and then we gotta go to the next thing. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Karen from 8C. I just had a question. Where are you getting your numbers for like the top units that are gonna get whatever repairs from first?
So that was also on the building assessment that was done. So he inspected every single unit, and so we have a list, and he went around with Carlos too. So Carlos was able to verify the units that were in most need of repair, but we will work with the committees, the responsible committees, to ensure that the list is accurate. One more here.
This is only regarding our winter maintenance scheduling cleaning up, because I think the climatic condition now is the weather is dumping more snow. Rather than pushing just around it, why not we remove it? Because we have a lot of big areas down the square where we can dump it, not just push it just on the corner or just on the side.
Yeah. Great point in terms of snow removal. So I think we're going to look for a better company to be able to do that this year. Okay. So we're going to actually go to the next part of our presentation, and I'm going to invite Billy Lai who conducted the building condition assessment. And the great thing is, in advance of this convention today, we were able to send to you in advance the PowerPoint presentation. So hopefully you got to review that. But we'll let Billy come in and present. And I think right after Billy's presentation, we're going to go into lunch. So I think we deserve that after a great morning. So let's welcome Billy to the podium, shall we? Just so you want to follow along, at your table is also the full copy of the building assessment. So if there's a particular page you want to look at, that'd be great. Don't worry, we will have copies available at the office as well, and then you're able to ask any questions.
Hi, morning. I'm Billy Lai from CMS Building Consultants. So today's program is a little bit behind. I don't want to holding up your lunch too late. So the session is about half an hour to 45 minutes to go through the building condition assessment and the reserve fund projection. So there will be time allowed at the end to answer questions. So building condition assessment, the purpose of doing, why you do that, why you have to do a building condition assessment report and reserve fund. So to answer the question is, you are holding a very expensive property. So building is an asset. So if you look at, you have 152 units. Even though how 40 years old, in the market, the value could be between $100,000 a unit to $150,000 a unit, depends on the size and location and how could you maintain. If you multiply that value per unit, you're looking at least a $15 to $20 million asset owned by the co-op. So I'm not an appraiser, but if you're using that theory to project, you have a huge amount of value of your property. You need to properly maintain as a facility management concept. So you cannot just try and error to run the property without a direction. So in the building condition report is helping you to identify the technical performance of the building. So what is behind, what is ahead, what is on par. And then from there also helps you to foresee the future project, the budget. What are the major capital works coming up in the future? And how much money based on today's dollars that you have to budget for the future? And then also put in additional things like inflation in the construction costs and inflation in the market and all kinds of things, so that using computer program to let you see that what is the financial forecast for the next 20 years, 30 years, or 40 years, depends on your need. So in your situation is we're doing a lot of co-op under federal program. You are the lucky one is already gone through the first mortgage. And there are still more, the project is now coming down to the similar stage, and you are the one of the pilot project going through. So when we look at the reserve fund, is once you off the operating agreement with CMXC, you more or less have to change your mindset that you're operating like townhouse condo or the typical residential condo. So government is not directly step in on your financial part in the future. So you cannot expect, as part of the future funding, that you occasionally you get the SHRP program, you have the social housing energy retrofit program or the repair renovation program come up. You have to base on, without that help, can you survive financially? So that is the reason that when you look at the reserve fund, from now on is much more conservative. You cannot be aggressive. Like in the old day when we do the reserve fund study, let's say 20 years ago, I did on average that each unit need about $1,000 contribution per year. But when the report went into CMXC office, they chopped it to half because they don't want to affecting the housing level, because they know that every 5 years, 10 years, when your mortgage renew, they may able to lend you more money to deal with some difficult situation. But now that with your first mortgage is over, you have to let go that provision in your future financial planning. So it's become fully on your own. So In doing a building condition assessment and reserve fund, is basically two parts of the report. Part one is a technical evaluation, appraise your building, look at the conditions, look at what kind of advanced deterioration or what kind of preventive programs that you have in place. So from there, we can able to highlight all the major components on the list, and then try to estimate the remaining life. Let's say a roofing design is 20 to 25 years, depends on the design system. So when we look at each building, we don't give a standard allocation of how much remaining life. We want to look at your current condition, your design configuration, whether the drainage is good or the drainage is not good. From there, we can able to, based on our opinion, to let you know that what is the estimated remaining life before you have to deal with the re-roofing or a new system in the building. So from there, each major component, so we go through the similar exercise. At the end, we compile a master list, and then from there, we develop a 30 years cash flow projection. But in doing the building condition assessment and reserve fund, those are the kind of a standard procedure that our team need to know before we can able to get in depth to the information. We need to study your design drawing, original construction drawing, what kind of configuration. So from there, we know that your apartment building is a brick building originally, but because of the design using the 1960 design concept, your brick is sitting on the slab. It's not using a cladding system to provide proper drainage. So end up after 20 years time, you have so much water seepage. You already put on a metal cladding. So those are the history that the technical consultant need to know, so that we can able to base on what is the situation, what has been done in the past, to project what you need in the future. And we also interview with your staff to understand any particular or any specific concern or typical concern from the unit in the building. And we also put out the unit survey form, so that we put out to every unit. Hopefully, people will return the comment. So in most of the project, if you can achieve 40% to 60% is a very high responding rate. So you don't expect 100% of all the unit will take time to respond. But interesting is I quite like this kind of conference, because you are one of the odd co-op can able to build that kind of conference to share the information with member that will stimulate the participation of the member. So after we go through the initial study, the drawings, the repair records, your financial statement, so that we can highlight where the money is spent in the last couple of years. From there, we will do the on-site assessment, review the condition inside the unit, in the common area, mechanical, electrical, architectural finishes. So in your co-op, because of special requests in the proposal, we went into 100% of the unit, unless the unit refused to open the door. There fields are not that many. From there, we, as I said, that we also study a financial part, and also we come up with the quantity, how big each components item, how many exhaust fans, how many boilers, how many this and that. From there, we have our own data bank in our office to assert the normal current market budget to those items. So for parking garage, if you have a garden, if you don't have a garden, we have a kind of a unit rate data able to plug in that, okay, if you do the garage roof waterproofing, it's just only pavement. So there's one rate. If you have a fancy garden, there will be another rate, that kind of thing. So based on that, we allocate the budget and put things together bit by bit. And then from there, we also run the table to see that now we have the raw information. We know the condition, we know how much money that we need, we know how much money that you are saving per year. So how to deal with that in the future? I cannot give you an answer, I only give you a scenario. So in the report, we come up to several scenarios to test out that if you do nothing, what will be the outcome? If you do all the best you could, how much money affected in the future contribution? So From there, you have the low end, high end, trying to streamline to the level that the co-op can afford and agree. Because in the maintenance management, there's no absolute formula. It's always trying to make a balance to get the best performance of the building with the limited resources, money. Money is always limited. You cannot unlimited inject the money to the property without concern. It's always a concern. So, but for your particular building, this is the profile, the background of the building. So the building is developed back in 71, 44 years old. I'm older than your building, okay. So the standard is, because of the building is designed in the late 60s, so the Ontario Building Code is the older version. So your building is designed using 1960, the building code. So you are legal because you get through the construction, you have permit, you have occupancy acceptance by the City Hall before you move in. But over years, there's a lot of upgrade on the building code, fire code, municipal standard by law, all kind of things. So buildings become left behind, but not necessarily illegal. Not necessarily illegal unless the fire and safety. So building code has been ongoing revised almost every 10 to 15 years. So since 1971 to now, at least 3 to 4 revisions done to the Ontario Building Code. But they are not, most of the clause is not retroactive to the existing building because you already developed long time ago, fully conformed to at the time all the Ontario Building Code before they give you a building permit and finish the job. So we call it a legal non-conforming status. So you have a property exists 40 years and in majority they are legal, except come to the fire protection and safety. So let's say the balcony guardrails. Some of the project in Don Mills area, I see that the guardrail only 37 inches, but today it's 42. So because of the intention of those revision in the building code is trying to improve safety, those are non-negotiable. So the building department will be using the property standard officer to hit the building owner rather than using the Ontario Building Code, because you are exempted by building code, but you are not exempted by the city standard by law. So a lot of building in Toronto, the inspector will be going out there, not the building inspector, it's a property standard officer. We review, when someone complains, they will come to the building, review it. If there's involved fire protection and safety, those retroactive will be in the works order, you have to conform. So there's a line to see that majority you're okay, but come to the safety matters, you still have fine tuning to do an ongoing basis at the best interest of the residents. So that's the bottom line. For fire protection is to everybody's safeties. For the safety is also safeties and structural and other things. So in I cannot see well. So the building is profile is you have the apartment building and also the stacked townhouse. So totally it's 80 apartment units and 72 townhouse. Parking garage is only one level. So based on the original approved building the permit, the underground parking is 130 parking spot and the surface parking on the podium is 62. Those are the official approved plan at the time of 1971 when you get the building permit. And the building is under Class C, is a residential classification, so only nothing but residential use cannot be changed to industrial or commercial. No, it's not. And also under the site plan zoning control, you are kind of a rental building type. You cannot, using existing classification, change to a condo. Those individual ownership under the zoning bylaw is a different classification. So co-op is also always under the rental building classification under the Ontario zoning control. And you also have facility for the playground, basketball court, and also the walkway going through the site. So this is the summary of the major repair history in the apartment building. So there has been an ongoing, yes?
I just wanted to let you know that the lunch has been pushed about 15 to 20 minutes, so you have a little bit more time.
I
Don't
try.
rush yourself. Yeah.
So this is the major repair history in the apartment building. So the recladding, we believe, based on all the available files and paper, is done before 1997. So to now is almost 18 years ago. So as you know that building is a cycle, all the repair work. So even though a lot of major work has been done in the past, but time is churning up. The next cycle is coming up soon. So balcony repair work was done in 97 based on what we know from the repaired files. Apartment roof was done year 2000, so now it's about 15 years. Window and balcony doors 2001, fire alarm panel is quite old, it's 1999. So to now it's about 16, 17 years, and those system is good for 20 years. So it's, as part of the future planning, is already assigned. Those items will be coming up. Modernization of the elevator not too long ago is only about 3 to 4 years ago. So plumbing riser, there has been the ongoing phase-by-phase approach, and based on what we know that the last phase of the plumbing riser is a hot and cold water pipe, was done in about 5 years ago. So now you can take a break. You don't have to worry about the plumbing pipes in the apartment because all the vertical stack was done. The last phase is 5 years ago, but the plumbing stack was not. So you have the supply water come to the kitchen and bathroom, but the sanitary water going down, they are still original. But because of the original design engineering, is the cast iron pipe going down to carry the discharge, they last longer than the copper pipe or the galvanized pipe used in domestic water. Domestic hot water and heating boilers also changed in 2006, but not the whole package. It's at different stages. And the interior light fixture has been upgraded based on what we know. And there has been ongoing kitchen and flooring work done in the apartment. So I see that 2 generation, 3 generation of cupboard make. So that from there we know that you are not behind, but somehow because of, if you imagine you have 152 units, you cannot imagine that you can able to do kitchen bathroom renovation over 2 years. It's impossible. You don't have the money to do that. You don't have the contractor sizable enough to do that. You cannot have a member patient to see all kind of interruption everywhere in the building. So in handle the interior renovation, it always makes sense that by multiple year phasing. Let's say if you can afford to do 15 units a year or 20 units a year, you multiply that. If you say that I only able to do 10 units a year, it will take 15 years to go through one cycle of all units. It's a long time. And most of the kitchen bathroom in our recommendation is every 25 years you need to upgrade, you need to do renovation. And all depends on individual unit. If you have much more turnover in a unit, it's much more wear and tear. So sometimes I always pick on Co-op is always try to penalize. The member who upkeep the unit will be the last, the bottom of the list. The unit is not have much more the chance to get things replaced and repaired. But in terms of timing, you understand that you have a huge site, you have a total 152 units. Even though that you do 10 units a year, it's a 15 years cycle. If you do, let's say I can afford 20 units a year, it's a kind of max out the management team because most of the works inside a unit, you have to coordinate with the member, the staff has extra time to deal with contractors, material selection, and also to work with the member schedule. So 20 units, looking at that, is still 7 years to catch up. So depends on the co-op internal decision how long the phasing plan you want to select. This is basically it's a co-op choice. But bear in mind, it's hard to deal with that over a short period of time. So in the townhouse area, the window and balcony door was replaced at 97, so it's about almost 18 years ago. Time flies, huh? When you were there, and now looking back as 18 years, your son is time to move out. And re-roofing shingles has happened about 4 to 5 years ago. Lighting, also the same type of light fixture that we see in the apartment, so I believe it's the same time upgraded to new light fixtures. And the bathroom and kitchen exhaust fan also done in 2006 to 2009 over 3 phases. And the kitchen and flooring is a similar method to the apartment building. I think there has been ongoing work done in the past. But I overheard about the question now as a kind of reorganize a plan for the future. I think it's more or less follow multi-years phasing approach. So from the building condition assessment, basically we enter more than 97% of the units. So we have a summary in the building condition assessment report to help you to pick the unit more objectively. Because I'm outside, I don't know any the names and I don't know any people in the co-op, so that is totally based on comparison in that table. So from there it's much more neutral. And parking garage and podium deck, based on what we know from your repair history, something has been done in 95, but to now you know that it's another 20 years. So the building is actually 44 to 45 years old. Those are the things that's happened. So in the building condition assessment, you see that members in the townhouse may not have a chance to go up to the apartment roof. You're trespassing. So it's not your territories. So this is what we see, that the roof condition. You have a swimming pool on the top of the apartment. It's done in those pictures, I believe, is in September last year. So it's not in the winter. It's a sunny day too. So, but because of the roof slab doesn't have enough drainage, so the system doesn't able to shed the water to the drain. So you do have severe ponding. And normally when we see a roof like that without positive drainage, we don't believe that your roof can perform up to the normal lifespan. So some roof, if they are good, 25 years is a standard time. So if the roof is not, then we hesitate to give 25 or more. So in some downtown hospital, when we do the assessment, some of the roof, because they are so well maintained, is 45 years old. We're still using. So you can see that that is the difference. And the equipment up there is the makeup air unit. So those makeup air unit is very old. I think older than me. And also is because of their older design, they are not energy efficient type. So they are using separate furnace and a blower to build a unit, just like the old day computer. You buy components put together, but that is common back in old day. But nowadays, the makeup air unit is much more sophisticated. They have a minimum 2-speed blower tied into the burner, so that when you don't have that much people using exhaust during the evening time, they could synchronize the speed down to half speed, and also synchronize the central exhaust fan to half speed to equalize the pressure in and the exhaust air out, that kind of thing, to cut down the amount of gas that you have to heat up the air before you can pump into the building. And also as part of fire alarm system, I also.
It's fine. No, it's okay. Yeah, we just need this microphone. That one.
Oh.
Yeah, it's all right.
the fire alarm system is also upgraded as time goes. 40 years ago, you run the makeup air unit, you don't really have to interface much to your fire alarm system. But nowadays, not. The makeup air unit, when you change, you have to put a smoke detector inside the ductwork, so in case that the makeup air on fire, they got to send signal down to the fire panel and then shut down the makeup air automatically. Or the other part of the building on fire, when the central fire alarm system is on, they also give signal to cut off the fresh air coming into the building to promote further combustion. So the fire code keep changing. So some co-op may ask that while we go through annual fire alarm inspection, why nobody told us? Because of the situation is you have, let's say, a 20 years old design. The fire alarm contractor is only responsible to test the functional part of the system. They are not responsible to tell you what is the latest fire code requirement. So when you upgrade the fire alarm system, you need to bring in a fire code or fire protection engineer to understand your building background, what is available, what's not available. So by the time you upgrade the fire alarm, you also address the expansion of the monitoring to a much more comprehensive protection of the building. So this is a townhouse roof. To be fair, you also have a swimming pool, smaller size, in the breezeway. Those flat roof, the drainage doesn't work well. It's holding up a lot of water out there. It's only by evaporation or by water building up so high and overflow to the edges and go back to the slope roof and coming down to the east drop downspout. The lower part picture says the balconies, a lot of the panels at the bottom is starting to corrode. It did the job, so it's a good system. Steel panel, back in old day, already 45 years in service. You get every dollar's worth. So as part of the recommendation is in the future when you deal with the balcony, the repair, waterproofing, that may be the time that you have to consider replace the panel to aluminum guardrail. So it's no corrosion, doesn't need to be painted, and to move on much easier. So on the interior part that we see is when we look at the building condition assessment, other than looking at the overall performance, we also want to pay attention to the common area. See whether if you want to maintain the project financially sound, you got to attract new comer. So you cannot stay behind at 60, 70 finishes without upgrade. So the lobby area, the common area, you got to think about that by the cycle come when all the ceramic tiles is due for replacement, the carpet in the hallways getting ready for replacement, to put in some modern look so that on the marketing side of the unit is bring it to today's image. And unit, the apartment doors, they are quite beat up. Those metal doors are spy rated, but a lot of door that we see that the hinges is already off sagging over time. So it's come to the point that 45 years old, you got to move on to get a new fire door going to each apartment and townhouse common area to get those replaced, and also to maintain a decent fire separation between the hallway and the unit. And kitchen, bathroom, unit flooring is, as I said earlier, you have been doing that. That will be the future is using similar program. Flooring, you have carpet, you have laminated floor, so it's open choice in the market. I'm not saying that one is better than the other. So because of you are the resident, you experience it, you know what is better for the building than the other. So those are the things that you need to feedback and from your maintenance committee, bring forward to the board, from the board and organize the the material selection. And central exhaust fan, this is one of the older building system. Is you have a 12 roof-mounted central exhaust fan for the kitchen and bathroom. So from today energy point of view, some people may think that well, those are causing a lot of heat loss. But from indoor air quality, may not be the same opinion, because 24/7 you have the exhaust system taking the old air out from the unit and then allow the makeup air to pump in fresh air into the building. So that improves the indoor air quality. So not necessary that one way over the other, that okay because of. But in the future, they have a lot of energy conservation equipment in the market. So as the board said that you have to move on and consider to have an energy audit. That is a good step to move forward, because in the market nowadays a lot of heat recovery ventilator. So when the heat coming out from the unit, they go through the heat exchanger and then pass on to the fresh air before the fresh air get into the makeup air, so that pump up the outdoor air before they have to temper the temperature. So that also reduce the makeup air energy cost. So those are things that interface each other closely. And as part of the health reasons, we also recommend that when you deal with the central exhaust fan, it's time to do a comprehensive duct cleaning. So those duct work has been used for a long time. It's time to do it. So building services. The building is quite behind on a lot of mechanical and electrical system. So electrical panel is already 45 years old. Most of the normal design that we set aside the life for the standard lifespan for electrical components are 45 to 50 max. So those are coming. So in order to, you think that I need to invest money or not, those the infrared scanning and the major surface need to be done is mentioned in the report. You got to do testing, infrared imaging, all the panel to see if they are functioning well, how much more year, and then from there you organize it ahead. You don't want to wait until the system broke down before you running around trying to replace it. It's difficult. Those huge cubicles take time to order. It's not a stock item. And also the fire alarm audit. As I said, that because of so many protection fire code, building code change, so when you upgrade the fire alarm panel, you need to do an audit. Otherwise, you just based on what you have to replace. So lately, I did a fire alarm audit in a 1988 building, much younger building in Scarborough, a senior nonprofit. Quite surprised to see that the fire protection engineer audited the whole system, and then came up that the time that we replaced the fire alarm panel, we have to add additional 9 alarm zone, and then 28 supervisory zone. So back in old day, if you have a generator, you don't have one here. So you just have a single trouble signal as a generator trouble. But nowadays, the National Fire Code doesn't stay simple like that anymore. You have low fuel, there's one signal. So alert people, there's no, the fuel tank is running low. There's another signal is that when you're doing testing, during testing is also one independent signal. Or if someone by mistake has put them on the manual instead of fully automatic, there's another signal. So you can see that that kind of example, the fire code actually change and try to expand to offer better protection. But if you don't do an audit, you don't know. And the heating riser in the unit, so those are original. So the piping, the condition so far is a visual assessment, nobody can tell. But because of the heating system is kind of closed circuit looped, you have a chemical control the oxygen and other corrosive mineral. So, but without doing testing, test cut, you don't really know the condition. But most of the case that those heating pipes is 45 years to maximum 50 years. So you're already stepping into that zone. So you need to know, you need to do testing so that from there you have a plan come up how to deal with the heating system. In doing the heating system, we give you a budget to replace it based on what you have. But somehow that amount of money that could be as an overall budget, you can able to look at the feasibility study as to the future. Do we have enough money or how much more from a hydronic heating system can be able to go on to a central heating boilers, fan coil, and central air conditioning. So those are much open choice that you have a big budget coming out to deal with the heating. Do you want to maintain the same heating system or you want to top up additional difference and then move on to a more dynamic central heating and cooling? So those are the choice that is time to look ahead. If you conclude that, okay, because of other reasons we want to stay with the heating, then at least you consolidate plan and move on when the time comes. That will be time to replace the heating system with or without the improvement. The sanitary and storm water system, those are the system is behind the wall. So inside the apartment, inside the town, it's hard to inspect. Even though we spend time to go through a site, we didn't do destructive tests as part of the standard thing. We don't want to make a mess everywhere because of inspection. So if you come across at getting more and more sewers back up or collapse sewers, it's time that you need to do power flush camera, using the cameras scooping so that you put camera head into the sewer line vertically, horizontally under the garage so that you know the condition. There's any sagging, any sections that the pipe is dipping, as water is holding up inside the pipe cannot go. So that survey and report will help you to organize what kind of work that you need in the future and what area will be urgent than the other. Site lighting is a part of the energy audit. You have a huge site, you're also concerned about the security at night, all kind of thing. And in the market nowadays is moving the trend from the old fixture to LED, and then you're using about 17% of the energy consumption compared to the old type. So, and those are a lot of choices. Concrete garage. Your garage last repair is 20 years ago. So most of the garage repair program is between 20 to 25 years. So the first cycle from new construction, usually you can last more than 25 years. But after that, we're using 25 years as a normal standard cycle. So we did a survey, we know that isolated area you have leakage, you have, and also the garage repair, waterproofing will be affecting the entire podium because the roof of the garage structure where they put the waterproofing to prevent the water getting down to that. So any planning for the future, the sidewalk, interlock, the courtyard area, and the playground, they are worried related to the timing. You don't want to do it now. Let's say 3 years from now, upgrade all the pavement, interlock, walkway. And then another 3 years later after that, it's the garage work and everything has to go. So you have to look at that to see how to organize them in a reasonable package and fit the time together. So based on what we know, the urgent items that we recommended in the report, the financial part, you see that every year is going up more and more and more. It's because of more components getting older and older. And also the inflation kick in and other combined factor. So those are the report that we said that in the next 5 years, those are the projected figures. And this is last year that when we look at the reserve fund balance. So those are from your financial statement. So the balance in your financial statement 2013 to 14, you have a $2.5 million of balance. So it's good. You have money. It's not like other project, the project in difficulty. So you do have money. And your current contribution is about 448 at the time we did the report. So because things change, so when you go up, look at that, and next year, because of the other service and because of mortgage payment is over, you could possibly top up more. But as I said, that when we look at that, it's how much really per unit basis. So if you look at $448,000 divided by 152 units, so each unit is contribute about $245 per unit per month on average. I just average out apartment and the townhouses. So, but if you look at the 30-year situation in the future, you are more or less like a condo. The government may not have a special program coming in and out to deal with ad hoc capital work. So if you now look at a typical condo, they may be paying condo fee all inclusive, $700, $600. After they deduct the portion for the operating, the staff, the hydro bills and things, you can look at that as they are contributing between $200 to $250 per unit per month into the reserve. But somehow condo and co-op is different. They only look after common elements. They don't deal with interior area. Interior is owned by individual owner. So in your case, you have to understand that you have to deal with the bathroom, you have to deal with all kind of things, all under the co-op reserve account. So your funding contribution on the reserve alone, you have to be more than a typical condo. So this is a reality. So those are the initial scenario based on 30 years projection. So in order to make the project viable, we look at that as how to save money, how to conserve our expenditure. Can we delay the project from the from the report saying that 3 years from now, can we using preventive maintenance to buy more time? Instead of 3 years, we can extend to 6 years. So there's one of the techniques to delay the expenditure. But on the other hand, you also have to increase the revenue. You have to contribute more in order to meet the optimum point. So the first scenario in the report, we said that if you do nothing, you just based on the existing right columns on the top, is last year your starting balance $2.46 million balance. If you're still contributing on the fourth columns from the right, $446,000 reserve contribution a year. And assuming that you earn interest, assuming that that contribution also go up 2%, 2.5% per year to offset the inflation. You cannot maintain, only contribute $100 a year, but every year the inflation is 2%. That means that the second year you're not doing $100, you're actually doing $98 and less. So you have to maintain that inflation. So to offset inflation, you need to have the annual contribution slowly. So if you do nothing, you see that if, unfortunate, all the projection, timing, and you don't do preventive maintenance, if all the items come up and you don't want to stretch and causing behind, you see that the project go to year 5 based on the report. And we look at the scenario 2 now. So if you look at the scenario number 2, same way we're using 30 years on the second column from the left. You see that from year 0, current, all the way down 30 years, just like condo. So the reason I'm using condo terms is in the condo, they have a condo act. The government is basically write an act to tell the condo how much contribution they have to meet is using a 30 years projection without negative balance in the projection. This is the mandate in the Condo Act. But in co-op, doesn't have that. But somehow, because of your financial situation moving forward without the CMHC partnership in the future, you have financial independence. We're using a 30 years. So if you see that in the scenario 2 and 3, with a radical increase in a certain point, you still see that in scenario number 3, year 7, because of so much work happening in the next beginning years, you have occasionally down to about $600,000. So, and don't be deceived by the big number. If we go back to the bottom line, that in the bottom of 30 years, you have $1.6 million. But bear in mind, 30 years ago, the $1.6 million is maybe equal to today's $700,000. So those are the scenario that we test run. As I said, that in doing reserve fund projection, we give you the worst, the maximum, and the medium per scenario. So from there, also that kind of report in the building condition assessment and reserve fund is you need to conduct a new report between 3 to 5 years into it because of the market change, interest rate change, and also the building condition change. So from there, you can able to update, and if you change plan, okay, before in the financial planning, because of so many priority items, you want to do the kitchen only about 5 units a year. Now, because of other things, you have settled down well, you have more money roll over, and the kitchen program shortened. So those are things every 3 to 5 years in the new report have a chance to update, and also the financial part as well. Questions?
Yeah.
Fire safety that you talked about, systems that we have currently. They were in compliance when they were built, right, my understanding. If they were built now, they wouldn't be in compliance. Has the rules set so that we are out of compliance currently? So it's grandfathered back. Have they said that grandfathered system is no longer sufficient, you must upgrade it?
In the fire protection things, is when you do a major retrofit of the fire alarm system, you have to conform to the latest. If you just do annual inspection, changing the defective devices, those are called maintenance to maintain the existing system. But come to the point that you upgrade the new fire alarm panel. Let's say if your makeup air doesn't have interfacing detector, that's the time you must able to add that, so that in case of fire alarm, they have a signal to cut down the power of the makeup air, not to pump fresh air into the hallway.
I just have good news that we are working right now currently with the Mississauga Fire Chiefs. So we just approved for a whole upgrading the panel system to make sure that we are in compliance with building code and fire code, and also the elevator code. So good news on that front.
Yes, so that has been a priority for the board, is health and safety. And you'll see that in the budget presentation in the afternoon. We'll go here and then over there.
Okay, I've lived here for over 20 years. About the swimming pool of the townhouses and the unit, I heard a long time ago, even when the previous office staff were here. Now, what do you think we have to do, and why was it not drained? And another question is about the exhaust. The exhaust right now is not working because I got lots of smoke from different units, and I'm dying because I'm allergic to smoke.
So the start from a small swimming pool in the townhouse. the water is pouring over the breezeway. That is the only section you're using a flat roof. But in the original design that we inspected, they never have a drain to let the water go between townhouse blocks. They basically let the flat roof overflow back to the adjacent slope roof to let them out. So, but because of original construction, they may build a little bit slope when they frame the roof deck. But because of timber structure, they deflect over time. So over time, they're sagging more and more and collecting more and more water. So that's the reason they cannot go. So in the future, when you deal with that flat roof re-roofing, in the engineering, we're using tapered insulation. We're basically using lightweight material to fill up the heated area first so that they make it level. And then from there, we're using low density fiberboard to build one side higher, the other side slower. So we may build up, 4 inches here down to half an inch, so the water can pick up the momentum to run, and then run back to the slope roof adjacent to the flat roof to let them go. So in terms of the apartment, it's much more challenging. As I believe that you have so limited roof drains area. The roof drains that I count on the roof is not in a proper location that they can effectively collecting water. And then also the design doesn't have those tapered insulation aggressive enough to shed the water to the drain area. And not helping is that you have a trowel plus one trowel central exhaust fan plus a makeup air in the way of the flow. So it's blocking the flow. When the water flow, they have something holding up, so it's slow down, the water is ponding in the area. So as part of the future, when someone coming to redesign a new roofing, you need to pay attention about how to address the drainage. Either you can add additional drainage, and because your building is the hallway is on the inner core. All the apartments on the outer core. So that means that any additional drains that add to the roof, some of the top floor unit may have to cut open the ceiling in order to let the drain pipe come down, go through the plumbing chase in order to add additional drains. Because in the roofing design, we want a minimum 1% slope as a minimum. So 1% slope, you can see that it's every 12 feet. It's a 1 foot drop. 120 inches, 1 inch drop. So that means that every 12 feet, you have to drop down 1 inch in order to create a 1% slope. The roof is quite big.
We have time for one more here. I just have an addition for this one. Our parking garage door doesn't have a backup. When with power went out, you cannot go out.
Yes.
Is that true? Yeah, we can't get out if there's no power. So we probably should look at the
Right.
system.
You just get to sit home from work that day.
Isn't there a manual disconnect, so you can just manually?
Yeah,
you
you have to
It can be
disconnect
open
like.
manually.
But your building design in 71 or 70. So, and also your building is a couple feet shorter than 36 meters from the ground level to the top floor. So you don't classify as high-rise building. You're mid-rise. In mid-rise buildings, it's not mandatory that you must have a generator, emergency power. But you do have an emergency power only on lighting.
Yeah, lightning.
You only have a 12-volt battery connected in series that work up to 120 volt to light up the hallway and staircase emergency location only. So there is not enough emergency power from that system to service other essential part of the system in the building. So as part of the consideration is that when the time comes, whether you would consider, even though you are not 36-meter group, you may consider to put in a generator in the building so that you have much more capacity to power the elevator in case of power interruption. you can able to maintain the boilers running. So in the power interruption in the winter, you can maintain the heating in the apartment. The garage, the 5 panel, totally all go back to the essential system from the generator. Those are the improvements.
All right. Let's give Billy a round of applause for his presentation and producing this great report that is really going to guide us after lunch. We're going to look at our operating and capital budgets. So I hope that really gave you a really good understanding of what the challenges are facing our co-op over the next couple of years. So please keep that in mind. What's going to happen now?
My name is Lori. I'm from the YMCA, Employment and Community. I'm not the gym, though we have the gym also available for the community. YMCA, Employment and Community. I'm myself a youth outreach worker. It means I work with youth between the ages of 12 to 21 years old, but we have another program where we can extend to 29. These youth outreach workers, we started in 2006 in Toronto area. And then in 2013, they decided to bring this program to Mississauga and Brampton location. That's where I work. We are mobile. We go where the youth are. It means the youth is in school or in the community, in a basketball court. They can call us and say, hey, Lori, I need your help right now. Can you come? I need to talk to you. So we will go where the youth are. This is first. We can talk to them about any different things. And my role is to connect them to the right resource in the community. Let's say the youth is looking for employment. We connect to the different programs we have at the YMCA. We have training, like paid training programs. We have like other programs for those, let's see, if they're not in school and not studying. We have a 12-week programs where it's a paid, 6 weeks at the YMCA, and then the other 6 weeks we look for placement. The name is the YES program. We have also, like right now, with the summer times, we have summer job services. We also have job for youth, summertime program. They changed the name, that's why I'm thinking a little bit. And they are very similar in names. The purpose is to help the youth, those who have not experienced at work, at least giving the chance of like getting that experience they need. Because I know there is like, employment is a big issue, not only among adults, but also among the youth. And those who, let's see, they finish the school, they're looking for a job, and it's really hard. The competence is really, really high. So what we try is to connect with the right support. At the YMCA, we also have programs for adults. My role, as I said, is helping the youth, but helping the youth, we also help the families. Let's see if they need employment as well. We can connect with employment counselors, job developers at the YMCA. We can invite you to like job fairs and other different things related to jobs. We also have programs like the WISA programs, which is about it's youth substance abuse program for those who are using the substances. We connect also to counseling, to anything, as I said before, employment, volunteer hours for school or community. And yes, depends on what the youth is looking for. Our role is to connect them and make sure they achieve their goal. Not only like from the moment I meet the youth, but also like through the whole process. It can take 1 year, it can take 2. Let's see, there is a youth that is just starting the high school and they need volunteer hours for school. So I will connect them to the right resource so he can have his 40 hours volunteering from school, for the school. Later on, when he finishes high school, if he's looking for employment or if he's looking for, yes, during the summertime, And if he's returning to school, we have programs for those who are going back to school. So it's a really, really nice program where we try to help them. We have membership assistants at the gym, and we have I'm the bridge between the youth and the resources in the community. That's my role. Thank you.
So yes, a lot of great programs at the YMCA, and we know all about trying to provide opportunities for our young people. One of the things that we're also working at the co-op is we're going to have a summer student working at the co-op this summer for the next 8 weeks, I believe. We got funding from the government of the federal government, the government of Canada, to hire co-op students. So we circulated a thing around the co-op trying to encourage young people to apply. And I believe Home Starts is doing interviews now, and hopefully we'll introduce you who the co-op student is. And that student will be working closely with the office to help plan this year's Multicultural Day festivities. So you'll hear a little bit about that in a minute. But the next presentation I want you to give a round of applause for is Jason from Community Car Share. So let's welcome him.
Thanks, Lee Rose. It's great to see everyone here. I'm a bit of a co-op sector nerd, so it's great to see membership actually engaging at a meeting like this and having lots of ideas. I wanted to give you a bit of a background about the history and the purpose of Community Car Share, how we work, and what we're doing to work directly with you at Ashworth Square. So we are, like you, a cooperative, and we're a nonprofit. But instead of housing, we provide transportation. So we have vehicles that we station throughout the community. Our members reserve those vehicles online or by phone 24/7 and just go use the vehicle with a smart card to gain access. The car keys are inside and off they go. The gas is included, the insurance is included, and they just pay for the kilometers and the time that they're using the car. When they bring it back, they're done worrying about it. We look after the repairs and maintenance and insurance and everything else. So it converts the vehicle from something you own into something that you're just using when you have to. So here in Mississauga, we've built the city around the car for a long time, so sometimes you need one. But that doesn't mean you have to own one, or you don't have to own as many. So maybe just to get to know your own transportation habits a little bit, who here owns no car at all? That's great. Who owns one car? Okay, and who in their household owns 2 or more cars? Okay. So what we do is help people to reduce their car ownership and thus their expenses and all of the pollution and all of the hassles that go with that. So that we can be more convenient, we can contribute to a more vital neighborhood, we can help mitigate climate change and improve air quality and health, get people active, and really help everyone take a step towards the transportation system that we all want to see, with more transit, more cycling, more carpooling, and this is a way to take a step towards that. So if you don't have a car at all, but you could use a car sometimes to get your kids to the programs that they're in, or if you need to go do shopping, you need to get to medical appointments, and we can make that easier for you, but in an affordable way, then that's great. Or if you have one car, but sometimes you need a second one, maybe you have family visiting, maybe you have one night every week when the kids go different directions, then we can be that occasional second car. Or if the car you own is a small sedan and you need a minivan occasionally, we can do that. Or if you own 2 cars, but you could actually get rid of one and go down to one if you had a supplemental occasional car, that's how we help a lot. So on the back end, for a lot of us, it's about the environment and climate change and things like that. That's why we do this job. But we know that for our members, even more important is the affordability and the convenience. So our goal is to work directly with Ashworth Square. We've been meeting with the board already and talking about bringing both a compact sedan and a minivan to Ashworth Square, so a Toyota Corolla and Dodge Caravan, both of which are built in Ontario, so we get to employ our neighbors while we expand our fleet. Right now, we serve 8 cities, from London to St. Catharines to Brampton. Brampton is the most recent one. And this year we're hoping to expand into Burlington and into Mississauga to make it 10 cities in all. So it's one big co-op. If you end up in London, if you want to take the train or the bus to visit, if you have a family member who goes to Western or something like that, you can do that. And if you're there and you need a car, we're there for you too. So it's one big system. And for $5 a month, you can be insured on 60-something cars. So it works out very affordably for everyone. So that's a bit of basic background. In terms of next steps, we want to work with your board and also at the upcoming general meeting on the 25th and try to get some decisions made about moving forward with this. And if that all happens, we could be serving you as early as June. And it doesn't take very many people to make it viable. So like how many people here did not get a chance to fill out the survey that Lou Rose was reviewing earlier? Probably a few, right? You might not want to admit it. But if we took everyone here and everyone who filled out that survey, those are the engaged members, and that number alone would be more than enough to make it viable. Never mind all of your neighbors in the towers around you and the rest of Cooksville. So it's quite easy to see it getting up to the point where it works really well. And as a fellow cooperative, it's always good to be working together.
Okay, we're now finally gonna hear just from one more group, and that's internal from Ashworth Square, is our Member Appreciation Committee, who's organizing this year's Multicultural Day. And that's one of the other great things that we're doing. We're revitalizing this summer tradition that we have. So the board really wants to support the committee in terms of its work, and I think they're just going to share with you some exciting new initiatives that we have this year, and also how you can support it. So let's welcome them to the stage.
Hi everyone, my name is Siobhan, and I'm currently the chair of Member Appreciation Committee. This year, Multicultural Day is going to be July 11th. We've moved it up 1 week because a lot of people have been saying the third week sometimes they have so much other things to do. So we're trying and hoping that this time most of you would be available to come out. So it's going to be on July 11th, the second Saturday of July. And we are also looking for lots of volunteers. We have lots of events on that day, starting from 10 a.m. From 10 to 4. We're gonna have a Ferris wheel, dunk tank. We're gonna have Twister, pet and zoo, pony rides. We're trying to include lots of stuff. And for the evening, we're also gonna have 80s band, because this year surveys was sent out and members voted for 80s theme, so we're going to have a theme, so hopefully you can come out and dress up 80s, and we're going to have an 80s band playing music, live entertainment for all of you, so hopefully you guys are going to come out and enjoy. And for some of our upcoming events, we have Member Appreciation Committee meeting on May 11th, 7:30 in the games room. Hopefully you guys can come out and make it. For May 22nd, we have a bingo night in the games room also. It's a fundraiser, and hope that you can come out and be a part. For those of you who can come and volunteer, we'll also be looking for volunteers. On May 23rd, we have an adult youth games night in the party room that is from 8 o'clock. Hopefully you can also come out and be a part and help raise some funds. And then we're hoping for the big one on June 6th to have a casino trip to Casino Rama. And with all that said, hopefully you guys can come out and be a part and have this year's Multicultural Day be the biggest one ever. So see you then. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Oh, there's one more other announcement. Yeah.
We're also going to have our raffle draw, and May 25th, you'll see tickets in the office and any of the community members. So we're going to have that draw on May 25th at the GMM sometime. So if you haven't gotten your tickets yet, please get it from the office for myself. And then it's $100 worth of scratch tickets. So come out and see who's going to be the lucky winner for that.
How much are the tickets?
The tickets are 1 for $2, 3 for $5, 7 for $10, and 13 for $20. Right. From the office or any committee members, myself or anyone.
Excellent. So let's help the committee raise a lot of money this year. And so thank you so much to the committee for all the hard work in getting this on. One of our goals for Multicultural Day is to really get more of the community out there, and also to have it for the entire day, not just for the kids, but the adults and the entire community. And one of the things that we're looking at, I know, is rain that happens every once in a while. And we're looking at investigating at actually renting a big tent to cover the dance floor and the food area, so we can have a rain or shine event that happens during Multicultural Day. So I encourage you to mark your calendars and please support the committee with their fundraising efforts.
We should send a flyer to townhouses across the road and charge them $2 to come on over.
Well, so you heard that we're trying to bring in some new attractions. So we're looking at bringing in a big giant Ferris wheel that everybody could take a ride on at nighttime and really create that sort of carnival theme. Okay, we're gonna go back into work, so I hope everybody's ready. But in order to set the stage for this afternoon's work, I'm gonna invite Diane from Home Starts, and who's been working with both the board and the finance committee over the last 2.5 months to get to this point in time. So a lot of hard work has gone into preparing this budget. And just to give you some context, this is really the first time that we're trying this out. I think a lot of times in the past, the first time that members got to see the budget was just like 2 weeks before the annual general meeting, and you got a package in your mailbox. So this is our chance to really explain to you in depth what we're planning to do this coming year. We want to gain your support in terms of what we're proposing as well. So after this presentation, we're going to break out back into our groups, and we're going to ask you, we're going to present different options, revenue options for you. And we're going to ask you which one you believe or support. And we are going to make a recommendation on what we think the budget should be this year. So either you agree with that or you come up with a different option at your table. Also, what we're going to present to you is our capital budget. So we heard from this morning the building assessment, what needs to get done. And now we've prioritized based on Billy's report where we should be investing the money this coming year. So again, we're going to break out into our groups right after this presentation, and you could confirm what priorities should be done with the capital budget as well.
Okay, so what I thought that we would talk about, first of all, is what's the difference between an operating and a capital budget? Because I think that's really important when you're going to be looking at your budget and what kind of things you want to do. Oh, this is amazing. Okay. Budget preparation, how did we get to this point? We just didn't work on it last night. What's the objective today? What's your objective actually at the end of this afternoon? You know your mortgage is ended. What's different? What's going to be different in your budget because the mortgage ended? We're going to talk about capital long-term planning and why we should do that. And we're going to actually show you a working copy of a 5-year capital plan and also a recommendation of the annual budget proposal for the fiscal year starting August 1st, 2016. So always keep that in mind. Your year end is July the 31st. Then we're going to take a look at the operating budget, which you have in your package. We're also going to have a copy up here on the screen as well. And we're going to talk about the budget options. So we're going to put you to work in a little while, and then we're going to report back to us. So does that sound okay? Yes. Okay, what is operating? So operating are the things that happen all the time. You always have to have repairs done in your unit. You might have a leaky tap, your toilet might be leaking or running. You might have snow removal, probably snow removal. You're going to have landscaping. All those kind of things happen every single year, and there's a cost to that. You also have a telephone. That's an operating cost. And you also pay for an auditor, and you pay for a lawyer, and you have insurance. All those things happen all the time. The most important factor now that your mortgage is ended is increasing the amount of money that you put into your capital reserves. So keep in mind that part of your housing charges will fund a reserve to pay for those long-term forecasts, some of the things which Billy talked about earlier today. So when we break apart your expenses, you're going to see that, it's pretty well equal, with the exception of the 15%, which is your property taxes, insurance, bad debt, and capital depreciation. I can't say that word. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. But you can see that pie chart right now I can say relatively looks equal. But when you had a mortgage, probably 70% of your housing charges went to pay for the mortgage. Now that you don't have a mortgage, it's being dispersed in different areas, mainly increasing the capital reserve contribution. So you can fund those capital reserves to pay for those things that Billy was talking about. So what is a capital budget? It's funded from your operating budget. So your housing charge is a portion of it, pays for this fund. And hopefully the fund will start growing and growing. Think of items that had a lifespan of more than 10 years. And I often say, you know, think of the day when you were excited and you moved into your unit and you saw a fridge and flooring and cupboards and windows and roofs and all those kind of things. Those things are lasting longer than 10 years. But one day they're going to die, they're going to give out, and you have to replace them. But you don't have to replace them just for one unit, you have to replace them for 152 units. Energy retrofitting, that would be part of a capital cost too. So I think we talked earlier about that. Is there any way that you can do some energy retrofitting to save energy costs? Those costs in turn will save you money in operating. When you save money in operating, that gives you an opportunity to put even more money away into the capital budget. Does that seem pretty clear? Judy, I know you know it's clear. Does that seem normal? We know the difference between operating and capital?
Yes.
So my leaky tap needs to be fixed. Is that operating or capital? The sidewalk in my front of my unit is all lifted up and crazy. And capital. The board had met with staff to discuss the budget process, and they provided us direction of what they wanted for us to present to the Finance Committee. And together, the staff and the Finance Committee met about a week after that. In the meantime, our staff asked the committees to submit their proposed budgets for the next fiscal year. And staff did some research about anticipated costs for 2016. We know things are going to go up. Sometimes things go down. But again, that was the research we were required to do. So we prepared a budget analysis with some different options, and we gave that to the Finance Committee for their review. Okay, Peter? Run. Yes, April. So in April, just this past month, the Finance Committee met, reviewed the budget analysis, made some revisions, proposed a housing charge increase as a recommendation to the Board of Directors. The board met in April as well too. Oh, sorry, next page. So the board met, looked at the committee's recommendations and said that, you know, this is great, all is okay, but you know, because of the information received with regards to the utilities, and it was information from both the provincial and municipal reporting inflation costs for 2016, they took that into consideration. And when you add money, you have to take money off somewhere else. And so it did affect the amount of the annual capital reserve contribution. We'll talk a little bit more later. So the board came up with a final draft budget for your presentation and review today. So today's objective is your preliminary review of the budgets. This is your time to understand, ask questions, and the board will definitely be here to be able to answer those questions. It provides us an opportunity to give you the full picture. So often at a members meeting, you only have a certain amount of time, and you can't get into the whole details about, you know, why certain costs are presented or the reason for a housing charge. So this is sort of some homework that we're doing today. It lets you ask questions about different options. And this hopefully will assist in the decision making at your members meeting at the end of May. So, what's changed? Your mortgage ended, no more payments, or no relationship with CMHC, who was the funder, and the person I think you paid your mortgage to. Accounting is going to be different. You're going to see different things rising up that you've never seen in a budget before. And here I have to say this word again that I can't say, depreciation. So So what does that mean? So before your mortgage ended, you had a capital budget, you stuck it into an investment plan, it built some interest, and that interest you put into your capital reserve fund. And that built your capital reserve fund. Now the accounting is different. Any interest that you have from your capital reserve funds now gets moved into operating. So it becomes revenue for operating. And it sounds really, really good. Hey, all of a sudden we're getting some extra money. But in the same time, as you're spending capital items, you have to take that value over the lifespan of that capital item and start depreciating the cost. So I'm going to use, for round numbers, a simple example. Let's say you spent $20,000 of flooring, and that flooring is expected to last 15 years. We take the 15 years, divide it into 20,000, and let's just say that number is $1,500. That becomes an expense in your operating. So although you get extra revenue from the interest, you also have to spend an annual cost reducing that value because it becomes an asset. It becomes what you're worth. I'm using a simple figure of $20,000. Remember, 152 units multiplied by a flooring cost of, say, $5,000. You're talking about, what's the math, $100,000? And you depreciate that over 15 years, it's going to be more like $15,000. So although you're saving the mortgage, you're getting some extra revenue in, you're still going to be spending extra money that you never had to spend before. I think at the end of the day, you'll still be ahead. You'll still have some extra revenue. But the problem is you don't have enough money in your capital reserve funds. And we'll talk about that in just a minute too. Okay, are we clear on that? Move on? Yeah. So for the last, I don't know, Judy, how many years has the sector been promoting the 2020 vision about capital planning? So this is plastered all over the sector's website, CHF Canada. They have workshops, they have material, they have documentation, publications. They're stressing and stressing that you need to be planning now for the future. You're probably one of the earlier co-ops whose mortgages ended. Many of them are coming up right behind you. But this plan should have happened a long time ago. But we're learning as we go on. So for an example, most co-ops when they moved in, they didn't have to worry about replacing things. Everything was brand new, everything was under warranty, things are moving along well. And all of a sudden that 1 year, maybe the year 15 hits and you start having to replace things. But the longer your life is at a co-op, the more it's going to cost and the more you have to replace. So what we need to do now is we have a building condition assessment done, and they should be done every 3 to 5 years because things change all the time. And based on that plan, we have to figure out how to get the money to pay for those repairs. And that's the key thing. How do we get the money? Okay, Peter? And one more. So this is the very basics. So where we look as, what do we have today? What's our reserves today? What are our housing charges today? How much are we putting away into capital reserves? Is that enough? Where do you want to be in the future? I'm sure the things that you want in the future is to be able to replace things, to be able to afford to replace things. But how do we get there? It's not going to happen in 1 year. It's going to happen over a number of years. So this is from your real building condition assessment that Billy was talking about. And I'm just taking a scope of a 5-year plan. And these are the things that were outlined in chart form, what you can expect to happen to the year 2020. you're going to, if you want to follow the plan, you're going to have to spend $3.5 million. And I'm going to say to you right now, you don't have $3.5 million, and I don't really think you're going to have $3.5 million. So you know what the next step is to take a look at that plan based on the information provided, based on your knowledge of living in the co-op, is what's realistic. This is a study, but what can be deferred? What has to be done now so we can ensure we can at least meet some of those costs in year 5. But after year 5, year 6 comes along, and year 10, and year 20. And this means that you have to keep thinking about how are we going to get the funds. So it all sounds great. We don't have a mortgage, and everything should be the same. But the point is, your co-op is old, and it needs to have things replaced. I just pulled this report out. It was a page from the presentation I gave at your members meeting last year. This is based on an old report, but we're saying the same thing. You can see that the red arrow, or the red line, indicates that you need to keep increasing the amount that you put away every year. Because we know through your old building condition assessment, you didn't have enough money, and the new one says the same thing. So we would have to increase those costs, and we can see as the co-op gets older, maybe in 2018, you would have spent all your money. And then that means, how do we build for 2019 and 20 and 21? How do we plan for our children? Lorenzo was saying that a couple of people here have lived in the co-op when they were children. Maybe your children are going to be at Ashworth. So now we need to plan for their future as well, too. So I think your housing charges have to be, if we had to collect $1.3 million. It could be an extra $150 a year. Well, I don't know, I didn't do the math, but I know that your housing charges would have to go up significantly to be able to meet that. So the board has agreed with the finance committee that there has to be increases in the amount of money that you put away in those capital reserves every year. It has to happen. Things are going to go up every year. That always happens. So based on that plan, all we can do is take Billy's plan and pull out the information with our knowledge that we know today of what the co-op can afford to do. It would be lovely in the next 5 years we could do everything, all the $3 million worth of expenses is in the report, if we could do that, but you can't afford it. You can't afford it unless you get extra revenue. And the only way you get revenue right now is through your housing charges, parking, and laundry. Right? A bake sale's not going to help.
Lottery ticket.
Right.
Scratch ticket.
Okay, Peter? So let's go. This is a summary page. It's in your package. This is a chance. Oh, any questions before we start talking about the budget? Okay. So I like to start with expenses first. And, you know, hang on. Sheesh. I'll just have to remember not to go into dancing or singing. Okay, so many, many years ago, I was taught how to do a budget. And I never started with the revenue first. That's how I do my home expenses. This is how much I bring in, this is how much I can spend, and I gotta cut expenses if there's something I wanna do. In a co-op, you can't do it that way. In a co-op, you have to indicate what your expenses are first, and then determine what housing charges you need. Or other revenue. There's other ways of getting revenue, which we'll talk about. But let's look at the real figures now. What do we think it's going to take to operate next year? So the very first column gives you expenses that happened last year. These have been audited. They're all over and done with. And I'm going to look at capital reserves. $440,000. That seems like a lot of money to you and I that you put away. But you still had a $38,000 operating surplus. But that's what the co-op decided to budget. They were able to meet that budget and put that into your capital reserves. The Finance Committee took a look at the budget. They made the changes as they were required necessary. But their goal was we need to increase those capital reserves. We need to. So they looked at the budget, changed some expenses, changed some revenue, so you could have put at least away $465,000, $25,000 more than you put away last year. Oh, where's that pointer coming from? Oh, okay. And then the board took a look, and we can't see the changes up here in the highlighted areas, can we, Peter? So, well, let's just take a look at the utilities, the second line. That was the only change that the board has made to the expenses in this area. We have the information in the package, right, about the reports that we received about the utility costs? Yeah, okay, so why don't we flip to that? Okay. So, first in March, the information that I received was through provincial information of what they believed utility costs were going to go up in different municipalities. You know that the budget was just passed a few weeks ago, right? That gave me more information. Information that the Finance Committee didn't have because the budget had just passed.
Ontario budget.
Ontario provincial budget, correct. So they have good news and they have bad news when it comes to the electricity. So how many here are in townhouses and you don't receive your electricity bill directly? When I receive my electricity bill at home, I've got to pay for the province-wide debt, the energy debt. And it's a large part, in my opinion, of a debt that occurred many, 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 many years ago that I'm paying for. Well, the change in the legislation now is they're not going to make you pay for it anymore. However, that works out to about 10% of your bill. Then they are going to take away rebates. So in the last couple of years, when you received your hydro bill, it would say, your hydro bill is $20,000, but we're going to give you an Ontario credit of maybe $2,000. So your charge is $18,000. They're taking away that credit. Right? So you're no longer going to get a credit. So you're going to save 10% on not having to pay the debt charge, but you're going to pay an extra 8% approximately because you're not going to get that credit anymore. So it's a net 8% increase. Somewhere in there, just a little bit higher, Peter. And it's interesting because I did the calculation. So after they announced the budget, you'll see the very first paragraph that they expect utility costs to go up $137 per unit. Your budget, I had increased it, I think, $21,000, $21,600. When I multiply 137 times 152, it's $20,000. So to me, I like to do a double check system. Calculate, do it a different other way. Does it make sense? Based on the information today, it makes sense to the board. So we'll also talk about gas. Gas is actually, they're saying, is going to go down. Last year, the province announced it was going to go up 40%. And many co-ops did pay an extra 40% on their gas bill. Now it's going to go down, but my concern is reducing the gas bill. Like, we're having really cold winters. So it's not necessarily the rate, but it's the consumption. We have identified in the last 2 years, not only in your co-op and most of the co-ops that we work with, that the consumption obviously has increased because the winters are a lot colder. Okay, Peter, and the water. Oh yes, you're going to get a stormwater charge now too. So they're thinking that the water cost is going to go up 7%. Then they're going to charge you for the stormwater, but your budget here shows 7%. I have no idea what the stormwater charge is going to be. But maybe if you do some energy retrofitting, you'll be able to save in those areas. So Peter, I'm going to ask you to go back to the PowerPoint. And we're going to be flipping, Peter, between the revenue and the expenses. So if I can then ask you to go to the revenue portion. One, yeah. Okay. Same thing. What happened last year, what the committee had proposed, and what the budget that the board of directors is recommending. You're not going to see much change between the board and the finance committee. The only thing that's changing is the housing charges, and I know what happened. They're proposing a 1% housing charge increase, so they added 1% on the total housing charges, which gives you that number, $1,564,231. But I don't think you want to be paying pennies in your housing charges or some change. So to round it off to the nearest dollar, that's why that number is a little different. It's just rounding it off so you're not having to add pennies to your payment. What's the big ticket item here? What's different in the revenue portion between last year and this year? RGI. So when your mortgage ended, you didn't receive any subsidy from CMHC. So you needed to figure out how to subsidize families. And last year, internal subsidy was $147,000. And the Finance Committee and the board is recommending that that number be reduced. Any questions what that means? What does it, yes?
Yeah, does it mean that some of us won't get subsidy?
Does it mean that some of us won't get subsidy? Judy, I'm going to ask you, because you were at the board meeting. Yeah, I'm going to put you on the spot. You have to come up here.
Okay, Judy, break a leg.
Yes, that's what it means. So, how's that?
Oh!
So, is that what you meant, Diane?
Yep.
So, I don't mean to joke. I don't mean to joke about this. So last year you spent $147,000. The board and the finance committee are recommending a decrease in that of 30% to $100,000. Your subsidy bylaw says that people will receive subsidy on a first-come, first-served basis. And so at the board meeting on whatever night that Wednesday, the board made a motion and agreed that first-come, first-served means your subsidy application, when it is complete, so with every piece of paper that's needed, taxes, bank statements, whatever the rules are here, it will be time-stamped and date-stamped, and those ones will be dealt with first. And once the budget, see, and I can't even do that math, it's close to $8,000 a month, is reached, then the other people will not be getting any subsidy. So that's what the board is recommending. So unfortunately, those members who are no longer going to be able to receive subsidy will have to pay the full market charge.
Not the board, or bylaw.
And the bylaw.
Or bylaws, so don't put these.
Well, but the board is recommending the $100,000.
Yeah. And the bylaw is first come, first served.
And the bylaw says first come, first served. But if you had 300,000 in that, then there would be no need probably for the first come, first served.
That being said though, guys, that's what it was at last year, but our staff has actually brought it down quite a bit. So it's not actually at that right now.
No, we expect it to be for this year, we are projecting, which means our best estimate for the end of the year to be between $110,000 and $112,000 a year. So you're right. It's not, so it's not as drastic as it seems, because you've tightened up your requirements around RGI, so we have reduced. But last year's actual was 147. This year we're looking at between 110 and 112. So that decrease will be, I can't do that math, let's say 12% will be close enough. Okay? Any other questions about that?
So does that mean to make it workable, we will need another 12,000, 112,000 total for that our house in subsidy? Because it's 100,000 now.
Yes, the board took the finance committee's recommendation to reduce it to 100,000. So it's hard to predict what people's needs are. The experience of across the province is that people who have their housing charge geared to their income does not go up. I don't know whose does not go up, so you will likely not be collecting any more from people who pay a housing charge geared to their income. So, knock on wood, you won't need that extra $8,000 a month, but right now we cannot promise that. And if the members vote to approve this amount, that's what the cutoff will be.
So to make the budget workable, we need the internal subsidy into 112,000.
100.
No,
What the board is recommending, and you're on the board, Sally.
Yeah, I know,
but this is a workable budget for the co-op.
Okay.
Both the finance committee and the board are doing what they feel is prudent for the co-op, okay? It may unfortunately not be what's best for every single member of the co-op, but they feel that this is what's best for the co-op, okay? I know that's hard to understand, but they have to look after that building for the future.
So what can we do to make it workable if 100,000? There's a little bit of glitch there that we need to know. Because as in our meeting, you mentioned
Okay,
the
so
100,000 is not
if you
workable.
are going to increase that subsidy,
What next?
and you need those dollars, the 12 grand, let's say, you would have to, and it's not there, cut expenses. But I think the finance committee and the board agree that the expenses as proposed are firm. So the only way to have that subsidy increased is by one, taking a larger market charge increase, or decreasing the amount you put in the replacement reserve, or dipping into the savings you've had over years. And the board reviewed those options and felt that they weren't, and so did the finance committee, and they felt that's not what they wanted to do.
Can I just say something as part of the finance committee? Okay, the way we looked at it as well is if we were being government, if the government was funding us, we wouldn't even be getting $100,000 towards subsidy. So if we were to go back to where we were before we were mortgage free, we would not have been getting that. The government did not fund us that much. What we're saying as a co-op and as a thing is we need to put a cap on our subsidy. Otherwise, it's just going to keep going up and keep going up. So we have to cap it somewhere. So we feel that that amount is fair to everyone. I mean, we have to look at it a long term. You have to look at it, at stuff like that. And I mean, it's just a number. We went through it, we worked on it, and we feel that that's a fair amount for subsidy. If we were government, being funded by government, we wouldn't have that much in it. Because I don't know what the government gives.
I don't know what you used to get, but I think that's a great point. You have all along been providing extra subsidy on top of what you received every month through CMHC. I will give a little pitch that co-ops across the country are facing this when their mortgage ends and are having discussions about what they're going to do. And there's a whole range of discussions, from jacking up the housing charges to provide subsidy to everyone who needs it and preparing for the future, to no, they can't do it. You guys are very financially strong. You've got an accumulated surplus. But I encourage you, I was at a rally last week in the City of Toronto and a meeting the week before that. City of Toronto is considering providing subsidies, dollars to those co-ops where their federal operating agreements have expired. So if you get the chance to lobby here in Mississauga in Region of Peel, I think it's super important that you do that. And another pitch, we're going to have a federal election, and your money came from the federal government. When candidates are at your door, you ask them, what about our vulnerable members in our co-op who need that RGI assistance? Because we as a co-op sector admire what you're doing in providing a subsidy to your neighbors, but we think that's government's responsibility.
Okay, regarding the subsidy, first of all, how does these members get subsidized? Now the second question is, I heard that a lot of members are in subsidy, the fact that there are 3 or 4 members that are working full-time. Now, of course, we have done the subsidy, the staff have done this subsidy investigation, and some of them are not even qualified to be subsidized. So this is really good that these subsidized people should be out if they are not qualified.
Your bylaw sets out the rules that your community has agreed that your subsidized households need to follow. Until your community looks at that bylaw and changes those rules, those are the rules that are followed. And I haven't heard any evidence that people are receiving subsidy and they are not qualified.
Could we not raise the 30% to say 32% and provide all the subsidy that's needed?
That's a very good question, and the board has put that on the to-do list, but it requires a bylaw change that would need to be taken to the members. We need to have a budget well before that can happen. So that is on the to-do list. I made note of it at the last board meeting, but to change the minimum housing charge, to change the rate from whatever it is now, 30%, to increase it, that requires the will of the whole community through a bylaw change. It could, yes.
Thank you, Judy. So let's remember what Judy said, because this is going to be, could be part of your discussion at your round table about what you feel about it. Judy said you have a bylaw in place right now that you have to stick to. So I'm just going to use an example. You can't say, oh, let's raise the minimum housing charge. That's in your bylaw. I think what your group needs to decide, saying, is it fair? Or if you don't think it's fair, how can you make that change? Really, the only way you can make that change is by increasing the housing charges more. Or taking money from somewhere else in your expenses and adding $12,000. That's what you're going to be talking about. So keep that in mind. There is a bylaw that you have to follow right now. And this is what's going to be presented, so we can't change the bylaw in a month. It's going to take a long time. So hold that thought. We're talking about operating, and I'm just going to flip over to capital, because when I go back to operating, we're going to now then focus on the amount of money that you're putting into your capital reserves. This is the proposed capital budget. Peter, thankfully, was able to help me when Billy was speaking, and you had your survey done, and your survey had indicated certain things that members are wanting to see. So Peter and I went back and we highlighted things that we have in the budget. Doesn't mean they can all happen this next fiscal year, but it's been identified in the budget. Appliances, and we talked about that earlier. Before the end of your fiscal year, July the 31st, $20,000 worth of appliances are going to happen. It's going to take place. It's in for next year as well, too. This column here, where it talks about priority, whatever the priority is, and it has 100% for appliances, that's exactly what was in your building condition assessment. We're going to talk about bathrooms. Bathrooms are, again, they can't all happen in 1 year. The building condition assessment put away money every year on a cycle that so many bathrooms would get replaced. This budget for next year matches exactly what the building condition assessment did. So, $121,000 worth of money is set aside for the bathroom replacements. If it costs $10,000 or if it costs $20,000, you only have $121,000.
Just put that.
Okay, kitchen renovations. That's where you're going to see a bit of a difference. We talked about kitchen renovations in your survey this morning. At this point, because other things have to happen, it was a priority 5 in your building condition assessment. So your building condition assessment said, let's wait 5 years to start replacing the kitchens. The board was very, very adamant saying, no, we need to start that now. So we took 50% of the cost of what it would cost 5 years from now, and that you would start the kitchen renovations. Emergency exit lighting. So fire and safety, the columns that were in the building condition assessment said it needed to be done next year or 2 years later. And the board, again, was very adamant that they wanted to cover all the health and safety issues that were introduced in that building condition assessment, that they be looked after immediately. We're going to do them right away. So they are listed there. The fire panel is there. It wasn't in your building condition assessment, but as Valentina had mentioned, it is part of code. We highlighted emergency exit lighting because the other thing that the board has to do, this is going to be a lot of work for the board because they're not just going to call up on somebody and say, hey, can you give me some cupboards? No, they have to go and do a proper tender. And they have to have a scope of work. And your engineer has to help you from the scope of work. I don't know what kind of wood you need in your cupboards. I don't even know if it should be wood. So that's what your engineer is going to assist the board. So emergency exit lighting, highlighted it because you know what? If it doesn't cost $51,000, I'm thinking the security camera that we're talking in the townhouse areas, that could be lumped in with that. Emergency and exit lighting. To me, it's a health and safety issue, right? So those are the kind of things. So if we spend $45,000, there's $51,000. So there's something else that the board can do with that, the remaining money.
Explain what GFI receptacles are? Yeah.
Who knows what a GFI receptacle is? Judy, don't answer. Yes.
Ground fault interrupt.
What does that mean?
Okay. What it means is that there's a circuit added into your plug that when there's some sort of grounding or the power is going through in the wrong way so that it gets to the ground or the neutral incorrectly, it shuts off automatically. So if you happen to accidentally put your hand in a socket and your other hand in water, it will suddenly realize it's losing electricity and shut it off before you get killed.
Can I give you an example? You see how clumsy I was here today? When we moved into the place that we live in now, my husband, that was the first thing he changed in the bathroom because he knows how clumsy I am. And I'm serious. I could drop the hairdryer in the bathtub. But no, I'm being funny about it, but it really is serious because you have children in your homes. You have people that sometimes aren't thinking about those kind of things. That is code now. It was in year 2 and, it was in year 1. But the board has decided we're going to do all the health and safety work next fiscal year if you approve this budget.
Just a quick question.
Yep.
Is GFI receptacles, are they talking about just for the bathrooms or bathrooms and for the kitchens?
Both, yeah.
So the kitchens are specialized ones because we've got split plugs, right?
Yeah. So they'll be both. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And it's also in the building condition assessment. When we get to the 5-year capital plan, it's in your package. It's got a code of where you can find that in there too. So it'll identify where you can read up more on that. Oh, and here's the energy audit. The board wants that to happen before the end of this fiscal year. So again, they just can't call up a guy, they're having to do tenders to get the best price and the best work for an energy audit. And then there's also a contingency allowance because you never know once you start opening up something what else you're going to find. So we put 15% of the total cost in case something comes up we weren't expecting. Let's go up to the very top, Peter, and we'll look at the revenue. That requirement to do that work and to continue planning for the future would mean $459,000 has to come out of your operating budget. And that's what's proposed in your budget. We're going to go to the 5-year plan now. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but I just wanted to show you that the board has been actively looking at this. There is the BCA code numbers. For example, A09A, if you wanted your building condition assessment, that's where you can read up about it. Oh, well, take it to bed with you, read it, I don't know. So, you can see, like Peter, just go up and down. You can see the number of things that are on here. We got structural components, interior components, the paving, and he's going way too fast for me, but mechanical, appliances, those are all the things that are identified in this working capital plan of what the board is working towards, based on you have the money to do it. Going up to the very top, so to the revenue, so it indicates like the second line, capital reserve contribution, it means every year you have to keep increasing and increasing that amount of money that you put away. It might mean housing charges, it probably will mean housing charges. It's a fallacy to think that because you're mortgage free, you don't have to have housing charge increases anymore. When your building is 40 years old, it's going to start needing some work done. And you have to get the money to do that. Your mortgage is not going to cover that alone, the mortgage payment that you're used to paying. So you can see how it increases that over 5 years, you could actually put away $2.4 million. But again, as a reminder, the building condition assessment said you need $3.5 million. So a lot of the work that we've highlighted again in this plan across the board are areas that were identified this morning. And you can see that there's a plan in place every year to do work. So for an example, the flooring in this first year, like for next year, is $26,000. Much lower than it is 2 years from now. And why? Because you have to get all those health and safety things done first. You want to make sure your members are safe. So once that's done, you have more money to do more flooring the following year. Not everything can be done at one time. So there's the plan. It's in your package. It's a working copy. It always, always will be a working copy. We heard today about the paving. Let me just go down, Peter, till we see something on, asphalt, pave, and curbs repair. LO2B, it's in there. It describes what it is. It's in year 2, but maybe it needs to be moved into year 1. And I don't know if it's exactly what the issue you were talking about, but that's what I mean. What has to change? So this will not be the plan in concrete. So if you see here next year saying, oh, Diane, you told us we could put $55,000 in flooring. Well, something else might have come up that we can't do the $55,000. So I think this should always be something that's provided for you to review at your members' meeting, so you know what kind of things have changed. And I understand too, and I hear this a lot, well, we don't understand numbers, Diane. We don't, we get all confused. But we're going to start showing you charts. Remember the chart that I showed you before? We'll start introducing the chart and what's changed in the chart, so you have a picture view of what's changed. Okay, any questions on the capital budget for next year? Because this is what's going to be presented at the members' meeting. And it's not going to be part of your roundtable discussion, so if you have a specific question. Clive, I knew you would ask.
Yeah, so I have just one. At what point, or have we considered, no, it's not like this, taking a mortgage and getting more of those things done earlier?
By remortgaging.
By remortgaging. Nobody has said that. I know we all are really glad we don't have the mortgage, but after all, we managed to get the co-op in the first place, build it, and run it for 40 years because we had the mortgage.
You are so smart, Clive. We could go on, Judy, and I could go on and on and on about this, because yes, we work with a number of co-ops that have taken out a refinancing option. Many of them, or probably most of them, have taken out that refinancing, meaning get rid of the old mortgage, the little mortgage that we have left, and refinancing to do the capital work. So together with the sector and the credit union, there's been a partnership of where they can provide that financing to co-ops, and many of the co-ops are already working with that. So they're able to conduct the capital repairs required instead of waiting 5 or 10 years, is addressing them now. The first step always is to have a current building condition assessment. So you've got a starting point there. Sorry.
Sorry, just to make it clear that refinancing doesn't mean that housing charges will not go up.
Right. So what it does is provide, so you know how this originally came up, and I'm just, very briefly, it's just, if you were to go to the bank, or walk to the Royal Bank across the street and say, hey, you know what? We need a $10 million mortgage. I don't think you're going to get it. What you're going to need to do is you need to get the support of the sector, support of a good credit union who's a co-op member. Credit unions are co-ops, right? They understand the building condition assessment. They understand the needs and the requirements. So they have partnered up to provide an interest rate that will be higher, but that's because that's the deal that they could make. Because if you went into a bank, you couldn't get it. So at least they have come up with some kind of a percentage. Yes, that is affordable. And yes, it does mean maybe your housing charges have to increase. They have to increase anyways if you have to bump up your capital reserve contribution up to $3 million. Right? So when I had said that the housing charges would maybe have to go up $150 to meet that plan, you could probably get the work done and not have a $150 housing charge increase. Something much, much lower.
So the issue of refinancing did come up in our budget discussion at the board level, and we just felt that that wasn't an option viable for our co-op at this time. I think the other thing that's different is that we're on our own, basically. So there's nobody backing us at the end of the day. There's no government support, and if we were going to do that on our own, I think the risk to the co-op and the members was a lot greater. So we decided to really focus on doing the hard work in terms of building up our own capital reserves on our own first, and maybe down in the road that we might do that option, but at this point in time, that's not something that we're proposing.
No.
Yeah.
But it is an option down the road.
That's
It is an
right,
option
yeah.
down the road,
If
but
we really
yeah.
ran into trouble,
That's
like
right.
something blew up.
That's right.
We could,
Yeah, but at this point in time, as you can see, we have a pretty healthy reserve, and I think the goal here is to strengthen that to make sure that we're viable and we're strong for the future. Okay.
The exercise that we did earlier today with the SWOT, and I was sitting at my table, and you know what it means? It just means you have to keep educating your members.
Yeah.
Your members are not going to think about the flooring for all the units, or the roof for all the units, or the window replacement for the units. They're going to be looking at their unit. And if they don't understand the cost or how much money it costs to replace this, they're not going to be happy. So this has to be an ongoing part on your agenda at members' meetings. Members need to understand what's all involved and how the co-op is planning. So I'm going to go, if there aren't any questions, can we go back to the operating budget? What time is it?
2:40.
Oh, okay, we have to hurry. Okay. So we're going to go to the bottom of the operating budget, and then we're going to do our working group. Am I talking a lot?
No, this is
Oh, okay. Okay, recap. Big change in the RGI subsidy, $100,000. a change in the utilities compared to when the Finance Committee reviewed it, which means the proposal is, sorry, we can't put away $465,000. We wish we could, but because we think the utilities are going to be higher, we think that we can put away almost $460,000. Still a lot more than what you put away last year, but still a lot less what your building condition assessment said. So the options that you're going to look at today are in your package, and these are the options that the Finance Committee looked at as well too, and the board was a part of it as well. If we want to increase the amount of money that we put away so we can get the work done faster, we have to find more money. So these options here that are at your table is the very first column is the budget up here. That's currently what the board is recommending at the members meeting. Option 2 says, well, maybe we should take a 1.5% housing charge increase. And because electricity costs are steadily increasing and a number of people are using air conditioners, maybe there should be a user charge for air conditioning of $8 a month. Many co-ops have done that because the cost of their utilities have skyrocketed. And increase parking by $5 per month. That would bring you extra revenue. Okay, Peter, go down to expenses, to that big block that we highlighted. So that would bring you an extra $29,000 that you'd put towards your capital reserves. Option 3, let's take a 2% housing charge increase, no surcharge on air conditioning, no extra $5. That you could put away an extra $15,000. Option number 4, 2% housing charge increase, charge $5 extra for parking and charge $8 a month for the air conditioning fee. It would increase the amount that you put to reserves by nearly $37,000. You can see that would be the best option if you wanted to increase your capital reserves even more than what's planned already. And option number 5, straight 3% housing charge increase. So I'm going to ask, then the board of staff are going to help you. So your job is look at it and what do you think? What do you think would be realistic based on the information you know? What do you think you'd be willing to look at? The recommendation the board is making, or you know what, I understand it better now. Let's take a look at one of the other options. Should we give 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, we will be back in 10 minutes.
Yeah, so like the people that actually
On from here, yeah.
Oh, I thought she's participating. Do you want to put it in? They should inform information dissemination.